Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Legacy, the podcast where we delve into the stories that shape our lives and the lessons we carry forward. I'm your host, Cedric D. Nelson, and I'm excited to embark on this journey of discovery, growth, and inspiration with you. Whether you're seeking motivation, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, Life, Lessons, and Legacy is here to accompany you on your quest for fulfillment and purpose. So sit back, open your mind, and let's embark on this transformative journey together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Life Lessons and Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Cedric D. Nelson, and today I'm honored to have the guest, the new author, Miss Elmira Henry. Miss Henry, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. And how are you, Mr. Nelson?
I'm doing well. I am excited to talk to you. I've been knowing you for years, but I know you have a new venture. You just written a book, and I'm excited about it. I know you're excited about it. So I want the listeners to have a chance to kind of hear your story before they buy your book. So I just wanted to get a chance to talk to you. So can you give me a little about your background? Where are you from? Who is Miss Henry?
Okay. I am Elmira Henry. I'm from Greenwood, Mississippi. I attended college at Mississippi Valley State University, where I received a bachelor's degree in social work. I also have a master's degree in Christian counseling from Jacksonville Theological Seminary in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm also certified as a mental health lay advisor.
Okay.
I can identify, e- evaluate, but I can't diagnose and treat. So I'm certified as a liaison in the area of mental health.
Okay, that's amazing. I've been knowing you for years, but I didn't even know some of it. I knew kind of some of your background, but I didn't know. That's pretty amazing. And if the people that do know, that you are someone is just very full of knowledge. You've always had answers when we worked at the regional office, and somebody asked you something, you always had an answer for me. So you talked about your background, your educational background. So what upcoming goals do you have right now?
Well, my upcoming goals I have right now is to um, become a best-selling author. My plans are to continue to write. My next book, I want a children's book, and just want to help educate my grandson who's just graduated from high school, and this will be his first year in college.
Okay. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. So I know you said you're going to be second book soon. So can you talk a little bit about your first book, your book that you recently released?
Well, the book that I've recently released is titled Sweet Potato. And when you look at the book, you may think it's a cookbook or whatever, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Potato is about a little girl. It's the name of a little girl who grew up in a rural area in the Mississippi Delta. How she came about that name because my mother was married twice and she had two sets of children, one set of dog children and one set of lighter kids by her second husband. So I was given the name Sweet Potato because of the color of my skin tone. That's how I got that name. And it was negatively given to me, you know.
Okay.
And and that's how I got that name Sweet Potato.
Okay.
Because they called me Sweet Potato growing up because of the color of my skin. They said I looked like a sweet potato.
And Miss Elmire, we'll talk about, the other part, life lessons and all that. But it's something I told people about. I grew up, I'm dark complexioned. And like you say, in our community, your skin tone means a lot, which is weird
Yes.
because it only matters to us. A couple of things about that. One, when I was growing up being a dark skinned kid, it caused me to fight a lot because you get picked on. And then you get older, being a dark skinned man is a good thing. Now I'm attractive. So it's all crazy. But I never forget I think I was in high school or college, and I was having a conversation with this lady, and she was a white lady, and
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about being dark skinned and about this other person being light skinned or something, and I never forgot. She told me, "That's weird to me that you guys make such a big deal about the complexion of your skin. To us, all of y'all just black people."
Yeah.
And it hit me that
it's in our community that the complexion of your skin is what you made fun of, or whatever it may be. But of course, it goes back to slavery. Fair
Yeah.
complexion being in the house and the darker complexion being outside in the field. So even for someone in your family to give you that name, sweet potato, and for it to carry on, other people call you that, knowing that you see it as derogatory, it's kind of weird because that's how it is in our communities. Like I know when I was growing up, no one really cared about our feelings. You may have had a grandmother or somebody to kind of pour it into you, but that whole being dark or being brown skin or light skin or too tall or too short or too, it's always you too something. You're never just perfect. and
Yes.
and and it's weird that in our Black community it's usually the older people that are the
Right.
ones that basically put that stigmatism on us. So
Yeah. It's a slavery mentality because, back when I grew up, the lighter skinned women, whatever, they worked in the white man's home. And all the dark skinned people, they had to work in the hot sun in the field. So it was just a
mm-hmm,
stigma put on the lighter skinned people. But the sad part about it, um, you got the same rejection in your home when you were lighter skinned. Well, I know I did from my family, you know.
mm-hmm,
I grew up in a family where you rarely heard your family say that I love you,
mm-hmm,
you know. So when you grow up in like a family, I wouldn't say dysfunctional because that's just who we were back then.
mm-hmm,
Um, and all of those attributes that you grow up with, name calling and so forth, they goes into over into your adulthood,
mm-hmm,
you know. But
mm-hmm,
I tell people, and I talk about it a lot in my book, until you find Christ and seek the will to forgive,
mm-hmm,
that's when are going to be able to heal.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I tell people all the time, growing up, growing up poor or growing up in impoverished communities, it's so many, I guess I would say, quote unquote, negative things that you can attach yourself to. Because a lot of times you have alcoholism, you have mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
you have poverty, you have all these negative things, you have everyone kind of struggling to survive. And so a lot of
Yes.
times when people are struggling, going through hard times, what they do is they take it out on the people who they have power over, whether it's a parent taking it
Yes.
out on a child or aunt, or taking out on someone. And so I think one of the important things you and I both have done, and we talked about it once before, is deciding if we're going to let how we grow up, how we grew up, cause us to have a negative lifestyle and be negative and be like the people that we saw growing up, or if we're going to decide to do something and be somebody different than what we learned growing up. And I think for both, I've
Right.
written a book, you've written a book, and we'll talk about this more. And of course, I got more questions, but something we've talked about, and you and I, when you first wrote your book and I wrote mine, and I was saying that people are going to criticize no matter what, right? Like, and most of the times the people that are going to criticize you are the people who haven't even written a poem. Like
Right.
they haven't
Exactly right.
right, they haven't written one sentence, one correct sentence in it, but they will tell you what you should have put in your book, what you should have
Yes.
said. You didn't do this right and do that right. And I tell
Right.
you, Miss Emma, I've told you before, and I'm saying on here, so if you ever tell somebody that they want to be offended, they can be offended by me, not by you. Ask that
Mm-hmm.
person, so what's in your book? Ask them what's
Yeah.
in their book, and tell them whatever suggestions they have, they can put in their next book. Because
Right.
the saying is misery loves company. So I say that
Yeah.
to you because we're going to cover the other questions, but about your book, I've written some of your book, and I think it's extremely entertaining. It is what we need as a not just Black people, but I would say I know about the Black community. When I was growing up, we had elders, and our elders poured into the good elders poured into us. They taught us lessons so we
Right.
could avoid learning them the hard way. And your book, from what I've written so far, it does a great job of sharing those lessons and that knowledge and wisdom with the person that does not have an elder in their life or someone to tell them about their perspective. So I think your
Right.
book is great, and I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk, Miss Elmira.
Well, I also talked about mental health issues in our
Mm-hmm.
family,
Okay.
in the Black community, especially back in the 50s and 60s. We didn't talk about mental health.
Okay.
And for years, I didn't really know what was going on with my mother, the slamming of the doors, the cursing, 3 and 4 in the morning. You'll see it in my book. I didn't know what was going on as a 10-year-old child when I first, was confronted with this. I didn't know what was going on. Later in life, I knew what it was, but at first I didn't know what it was. So that will help somebody else, some other child out there who may see their parent going through, or aunt or sister or brother. They'll be able to go and tell somebody, look, my aunt or my mother is acting this way. They'll be able to tell a school counselor or someone. I wasn't able to do that because I didn't know what to do. So when I grew up with a lot of anxiety issues.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah. So I'm also talking about mental health in the book and mental wellness, how we can better take care of ourselves.
Well, Mr. Mark, and that's the other thing. Like, it's important what you're saying. Again, we're talking about the Black community. I mean, I'm sure it's the white community, the Latino community everywhere. But I know when I was growing up, the same thing. No one really talked about mental illness. Even if you had a family member, a cousin, whoever that may have had mental illness, they just said, "Oh, well, he's what they say, touched, or got a little something special or whatever." And
Yeah.
and that was the uncle or somebody everybody kind of took care of or kind of
Yeah.
avoided or what. But there was never anyone actually saying, "Look, this person can actually live a normal life if we get them some help." And because a lot of times in the Black community, because we don't have the funds, a lot of times we don't even address the issues. Like you said, we just push it. That's Robert Earl, that's Robert Lee, or whoever
Yeah.
he does whatever.
It's
And
hush hush, pushed under the rug, so we don't
exactly
get the help that we need.
right. And no one wants their family to say, "Oh, well, my uncle has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or whatever." But now that's a good thing about, I guess, the newer generation. You can actually discuss those issues, and there's actually more literature on it. Back then there was no internet, Miss Elmira, so we couldn't go look it up. You had to go to the library to look up what schizophrenia was, if you even knew
Right.
what it was. So,
And I'm a mental health advocate, and I just tell people no more shame. Mental illness is the same as heart disease or diabetes. It's treatable.
it is.
You might not, get cured from it or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but it is treatable. You will be
Mm-hmm.
able to live a pretty much normal life if
Mm-hmm.
you take your medicine and do, follow the instructions of your doctors.
Because a lot of times, what happens is, I know from people that I've dealt with, in my field, the person will start taking their medication, and it may make them feel a little bit, maybe suppress their appetite or whatever it may be, but they will start feeling better, but they don't like how the medicine makes them feel. So then
Right.
they'll stop taking the medication, and then all of a sudden, by the time things start getting out of hand, it's too late, and they're
It's too late.
hospitalized
Yes.
or whatever it may be. So,
And
but no.
therefore they start all over again.
And there you go. And plus you don't want the person to end up in the system, quote unquote, where you're kind of constantly being cycled through, which in my field I see that often. A lot of my clientele can tell me when they're about to have a psychiatric break. Like,
Right.
hey, say I'm hearing voices, or whatever. So, but all right. So my next question, Ms. Elmira, and we'll go back to your book. What life lessons have you learned that you like to share?
The life lesson that I've learned is to make every moment of your life count, because the years go by so fast. And when you know one thing, you were 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to look back and say, where did the time go?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell any and everybody, make every moment of your life count. No matter who you are, where you are, your educational background, your financial status, make every moment count
Mm-hmm.
in your life.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Miss Amara. You and I talked before, and the older I get, the faster these days go by.
Yes.
A year used to feel like a year. Now a year feels like a month, and a month feels like a week, and a week feels like a day. Like it's it's already mid-July, and if I'm still stuck in 2022. So the time goes so fast, and I guess as I get older, I keep losing people at a younger age. So like you said, I definitely agree with the lesson that you're saying, the life lesson, to enjoy life. We all have bills. We all have
Mhm.
our own stressors. We all have our own burdens. We have relationships. You're married, I'm married. Marriage isn't easy.
It isn't.
Raising children isn't easy. Writing a book isn't easy, but you have to find time to enjoy yourself. I look forward to
Yes.
one day getting to the point of being able to retire, and just spend time with my wife and my kids when they come around. You know, they have their own lives then, but because life is so short, you know, if you want to take a vacation, save up. If you can't afford to do it right now, save up for it and pay on it. Go take that vacation you want to take. Because
Yes, my husband and I, we're both retired. So that's what
blessing.
we do. I got into writing. You know, I've never been a great writer, but I've always been a composer.
Okay.
I've always liked to do research and put things together, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and the more you do, the better you become. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah,
I agree. You know, and I think the thing about writing, Miss Elmira, you know, something I learned myself is the first one, to be honest, I know I'm speaking on my behalf of my book. The first one isn't usually perfect because you don't know. You're just kind of figuring out as you go. You know,
yeah,
you may have people to kind of give you some guidance, or you may be look stuff up on YouTube or whatever. But the main thing is just getting it. It's kind of like starting exercise. Sometimes the most important thing is just getting out there and doing it. And if you
right.
mess up, you mess up. You know, that's gonna be perfect, but you did it. And then the next time you get better at it and you get better and better. And next thing you know, you New York Times bestseller,
So
you
you
know.
have accomplished something that a whole lot of people have not
Hmm.
accomplished.
Exactly.
You know, they don't even know where to get started, you know.
Mm-mm.
So that is a great, you always tell me, he said, Miss Amari, that's a great accomplishment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I appreciate you for that, for those words of encouragement.
Oh, anytime. And Miss Elmira, the thing about it is you've added to your legacy because the generations after you and I are both gone, can pick up your book and say, okay, what was her life like?
Yeah.
What
My
lessons did
grandmother,
Yeah, exactly.
yes.
My grandmother, what was she told have told me if she was here? So it's like you speaking to them even once
Yeah.
you're no longer here. So your legacy has grown even more now because you've written a book. And this is only the first one. You still got the children's book coming, and other books
Yeah.
coming, and other ventures. You got book signings and speaking
Yeah.
engagements and everything. So you're just adding to your legacy. And I tell you all the time, I'm extremely proud. That's a huge
And
accomplishment.
other venues are reaching out to me now.
Mm-hmm,
Barnes and Nobles, I've already signed, you know, with them. So
mm-hmm,
they'll have my book. Google app,
mm-hmm.
you know, I'm working with them. And I'm working with a couple of more companies right now.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to get started because you don't get started, you never get to Barnes and Nobles, Google, Amazon, anybody. You know,
Yes.
yeah. So,
But I really do appreciate Amazon because they really work with you, you know,
mm-hmm. And they make
they
it
really,
kind of simple. They don't make it as complicated. You know, once you go through a couple of steps, they kind of walk you through it.
right.
So, so, so question: Who has been the single most important or inspirational person in your life, past or present?
Past my mother,
Okay.
my mother, she taught me strength, how to be strong because raising 11 children and divorced twice,
Mm.
that's a strong woman.
Mm-hmm.
My father taught me to work hard. He taught me wisdom.
Okay.
No matter what you do in life, you do it to the best. No matter what you be in life, you
Mm-hmm.
be your best.
Mm-hmm.
So he taught me to work hard. And I learned a lot from my husband.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me how to be cool and calm and collect. Because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I can get kind of, you know, rattled at times.
Mm-hmm.
So he has taught me to pick and choose my battles.
That's it.
My
That's it.
husband,
Mm-hmm.
those three people, you know, have really made an impact in my life.
Okay.
My mother, my father, and my husband for nearly 40 years.
That's a blessing. I know people don't make it 4 months. They don't make it 4 weeks. So that's a blessing. You know, and we'll talk about legacy in a minute. But when I think about it, you think about you're adding to your mother and father's legacy by writing your book. Because now you
Right.
can tell your story and their story. You know, so that's why I tell people like when you have kids, your life isn't about you anymore. And as I get older, I realize even now my life is it's about my kids, but it's also about paying homage to my grandmother, my mother, my brother, the
Yes.
people that poured into me that are no longer here. It's up to me to keep
Right.
their memory alive and let people know that I'm not me without them, you know.
Yeah.
And I say this with somebody about marriage. I tell you what, you know, because I love my wife to death, and I'm sure you love your husband to death. But marriage will definitely teach you to pick and choose your battles because
Right.
you can't win them all, And when you get done arguing, that joker is still in the next room, and y'all have to eat dinner together and everything
But we're
else.
to the
So
point now where we're just friends. We just look at each other and laugh,
that's
you
it.
know.
Yep, I'm not going
Um,
anywhere.
but for a man to have, drafted to the military back in his day, been in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's really an inspirational guy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't appear that he let anything bother him. I mean, I have learned so much from him, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Yeah.
blessing. That's a blessing. And you know, Mr. Martin, that's probably what you needed in your life. That's how God works. He gives you what you need. You know, we don't know what we
Mhm.
need, but that's probably what you
Right.
need. Somebody that's just calm, cool, calm, and collective in all situations. So if you want to, kind of get in a hissy, tizzy, he's
Yeah.
like, nah, we're good. You're like, okay, I guess I'm tripping. Let me go on to calm, let me go on to calm
Yeah.
down.
Just say, well, darling, don't worry about that. That's not important, you know.
See,
So
that's it. We all need that. I'm telling you, we all need somebody to make us be like,
yeah.
don't tear the club up, man. So uh,
Because I
so
will.
right, exactly. Yeah. I told you when I was a kid, I had this horrible temperament somehow, and I would tear up everybody's club, my club, everybody else's club. I had, I had a very hard time getting myself together. But but I say it to say, like your husband keeping you calm, my grandmother and my older brother helped me a lot with my temper to kind of be like, it's yeah, you want to punch everybody in the face in here, but it's not that
Mhm.
serious. So you need someone to kind of be the good angel on your shoulder because
Yeah.
that bad angel talks a lot. Okay, well, I'm sorry, I got us off track.
And I look back over my life, and since I've been retired for 6 years,
mhm,
I go back and I reevaluate some things, and I think about on my job when you get upset with your
mhm,
coworkers and stuff. You might say some things back then, but since I have been retired, I look back, I said, I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to do it that way.
mhm, right. It's
But at
hard.
the time I was employed, I didn't see that. I didn't
Right,
want to
right,
see a lot of things that I said. You know what I mean?
right. You're like, no, I'm telling them how I feel today. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the thing about Miss Emma. I tell people all the time, if God would just give us time to kind of stop when the crazy moments happen and back
Mhm.
away for a little while to reevaluate, we probably save ourselves a lot of going off on people and all that. But we don't get it at that moment. Your temper's up here, and you're like, I'm gonna tell them how I feel today.
But
So
sometimes, it's like people won't give you a break. They just won't let you rest.
mhm,
And you're thinking to yourself, well, you really need to leave me alone today. You know what I
mhm.
mean?
Today is that day. Today is that day. Today is that
You're
day
gonna
that
bring the worst out in me, like
right,
that. But
right. But
but I
Miss,
just thank the Lord. I just
yes,
thank God for where He has,
that
where
piece.
the place that I am in now. I thank Him
Mhm.
for it. A lot of people don't live to be where I am.
Well,
I'm happy, raised 3 grown children,
mhm,
raised my grandson. He's 18 now, headed to college. So I
mhm,
look back and I have, so much to be thankful for.
mhm. Well, Miss Summer, I commend you for even having the mindset to be thankful. Because I know so many people that everything is negative, 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 negative. They always worry about, well, I didn't do this, or what about that? And just to have the mindset to say, I thank God for me being able to raise 3 grown children, my grandson,
Hmm.
to be married for 40 years, to be retired, to have written a book, to survive all the things
Yes.
I've been through. So many people don't give God the glory for just
Hmm.
being here. I mean, I tell my wife all the time when things are going crazy, I'm like, I'm tripping because it's somebody that will probably kill me to be in the position I'm in. I'm over here complaining about,
Yes.
I have to go
Yes.
pay whatever X, Y, and Z, and it's somebody that would shank me in the neck, just to be
Yeah.
where I am. So I commend you
Exactly.
for just that mindset. I tell people all the time, perspective. In my book, I talk about perspective. That perspective,
Yeah.
it determines how your life goes. So,
Yes.
so my next question. So you kind of talked about it, but what do you think about legacy, and what is the legacy that you want to leave behind when your time is up? Not to be more, but we all have a date and a time. When you leave here, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I actually want my legacy to be left to my grandchildren.
Okay.
I want them to know the kind of person that I was. Like you say, I've written a book. I want them to, I want it to go down through the generation. My
Okay.
grandmother wrote this. My great grandmother wrote it. The Bible speaks of a good man leaving inheritance for his children, 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 children.
Okay.
And not only material inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave the word of God in them. I want them to know who to go to in your time of need.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have very, very few friends on this earth. But God would never turn his back on you. That's the main legacy I want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
She loved the Lord and she had a personal relationship with him.
Mm-hmm. Which is a blessing. It's funny hearing you talk about it because it makes me think of my grandmother. And some of the lessons that you're trying to leave was the same ones my grandma left for me. I think I said on a previous podcast, when I was younger, she would always take me to church.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, I didn't want to go, but after a while, you start to realize, like, just get up, put your pants on because you have to go anyway. But because she was no nonsense about it. Very soft-spoken woman, but she said what she meant and she meant what she said. And she wore these rings on her hands. So I didn't want to catch those hands.
Yeah.
But she used to tell me the same thing. She said, baby, one day I'm not gonna be here. I love you to death, but you need someone that you can turn to when things get tough.
That's right.
And because like you said, I have the people I'm really close with, I call them my brothers and my sisters because they've built their relationship with me. People I can trust in if I won the lottery, they would still treat me the same they do right now. If I lost every dime I have, they would treat me the same. But as you said, I can only count about maybe 6 or 7 of those. You don't have a lot of those, if that.
You have that many?
Right. Exactly. And like you say, it's friends come and go. Some people that are those true friends I call the brotherhood, or like they're like my sisters or my brothers. Those are the people that, I would give the shirt off my back because they would do the same for me. But it's very, very hard to find those people, So, yeah, good point. So, all right. So, next question. If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what's the advice that you would give your younger self?
First of all, I would tell my younger self, stay in school, get a good education.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get married so young the very first time. This is my second husband.
Okay.
Don't have a child as a teenager as I did the very first time.
Okay.
Invest early in life,
Mm-hmm.
own your own business early in life. If I could go back and tell my younger self, these are the things that I would go back and tell myself.
Okay.
And these are the things that I'm instilling into my grandson.
Mm-hmm.
My grandson just graduated from high school and he's out now getting certified in real estate.
Okay.
In the class today, yes. Because I'm teaching him the things, He's going to make some mistakes.
That's life.
Because sometimes that's how we learn through certain mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I want him to take it, one step at a time because I tell him you can move so fast in life, you can get up and walk, but at some point you're going to go back and crawl.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I teach him. So go through the stages of life, go through the appropriate milestones, and age appropriate,
Yes, ma'am.
because the rest of that stuff is going to come. Heartaches and pain, you don't even have to worry about it. It's coming.
It's coming.
And even when you think you've done it all right, it's coming.
It's coming. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to ask for those problems. They're coming.
Right.
I like what you're saying though. You're that's again, that goes back to your legacy. You're teaching the next generation. Look, real estate is one of those great things. I've been in real estate for a while, off and on, kind of dabble into it. And real estate can change your whole financial landscape by one deal, and just investing early. And also the thing you're telling them, I tell my kids the same thing. Like, look, I love you. And if I could take all your heartache and pain you're ever gonna have in life and deal with it myself, I would. But you know what?
Yes.
God didn't make it that way. You got to go through some things. You and I have been through things. And most of the things, the hard things I've been through are what taught me the greatest lessons.
Yes.
It's like I tell people, if you want a nice body, well, if we could all just
hard to get it.
You got to work hard, right? If I just go take a shot of my arm and also I got 6-pack ab and big arms, that'd be great. But I wouldn't appreciate it as much as I do. It's kind of like investing early. You appreciate it more when they had to grow slowly, as opposed to I won the lottery and now all of a sudden I got $100 million and I'm about to go buy a yacht and I live in the desert. So I think that's a great idea what you're doing. You're teaching them that you have to go through heartache and pain. That's one of those life lessons as well. We all go through it.
Yeah, and the one great thing about it is a lot of those things that we go through, hard times, trials, tribulations, or whatever, you know, some of those things I'm glad I went through, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't be the strong woman that I am. You know.
That's it. They build you. They build character. You know, Mr. I tell people
I talk about that in my book. Yeah, develops character and humility also.
Because
Makes
you
you
can't,
humble.
you can't understand what's like when the person say, "Well, I don't have money to buy new shoes," until you've been in that situation where you didn't have money to buy new shoes. You realize, like,
Yes.
no, they really just don't have money. They're not just saying it, like, I tell people also it's kind of the same thing with our kids. My kids have it. I mean, they're not perfect, but they have it a whole lot better than I had growing up. So even some of the struggles I tell them about, they look at me like, how could that be? You didn't have what? Y'all didn't have food in the fridge. They don't get it because they haven't experienced it, because we try our best to shield them from what we went through. And so sometimes I wonder, am I helping them or hurting them by shielding them from everything that I've been? You don't want your children to go through anything, but it's kind of part of it. They have to, because one day we won't be here to shield them anyway.
That's right. That's why our legacy is to teach them. What do I want to leave for them? I want them to know, okay, you're gonna make mistakes, but I want you to be at a point where you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep going. Because you're gonna fall down.
That's it.
You don't fall down by yourself. Somebody gonna drag you down. So
that's it. Or somebody come by and knock you down, like you said, keep on going, like you wasn't there.
Yeah.
My cousin was talking about that's kind of what develops character. The falls, like I tell people all the time, people we see on TV and we read about that are successful, they didn't start that way. Like nobody starts off successful. Nobody starts off being wealthy. I mean, some people may be born into it, but for most people we know, especially, no one gets anywhere without going through something. Even people we see and we will, I wish I was like that person. That person has been through something.
Yeah. The people look at Tyler Perry and Steve Harvey's story. I mean, they've been through a lot to get to where they are.
Yeah.
And you don't become billionaires overnight.
You
know
don't.
what I mean? You're gonna go through some things to get there.
And once you get there, Miss Elmira, you're still gonna go through something, because it's still somebody trying to take it from you.
You are.
You
gotta try to maintain.
That's it.
And once you get there, you gotta maintain.
That's it. So yeah, that's one of those life lessons. So a couple more questions, and then I want to ask you something about your book. But well, I'm asking about your book first. Do you anything you got coming up? I know you want to talk about your book some more. If you don't mind, could you show it to the audience one more time so I can make sure they go to Amazon.com and purchase a copy of Miss Elmira Henry. Sweet Potato
by Elmira Henry. That's the little girl's name. She grew up in a rural area in Mississippi Delta. It's some good, some bad, and some ugly. I talked about some things that happened to me as a teenager. Being inappropriately touched at the age of 13. I talk about all of that.
Okay.
So, it's not a book to judge me or anything. I'm telling my story. Actually, it's a fictional book because I changed names and places, but it's based on a true story.
Okay.
It's a fictional book, but it's based on the elements of a true story. So I encourage you to go out and purchase your copy of Sweet Potato. And like it said, it embarks on the inspiring journey of Sweet Potato, a resilient little girl who defied the odds of her upbringing on a cotton plantation. Elmira Henry paints a vivid picture of Sweet Potato's struggles and triumphs. I overcame a lot of stuff that I went through as a child, and I want other people to know that you can do it as well. A lot of people may not think that. Oh, she wrote a book. How did she do that? Almighty God.
That's it. That's it.
Almighty God. And the fat lady haven't sung yet. It's just the beginning.
That's it. That's it, Miss Elmira. That's it. Let
They
them
said it
know.
ain't over till the fat lady sing.
That's it. She ain't singing
Fat
yet.
lady hadn't sung yet.
That's it.
No, this is the beginning
That's it.
of my story. Yes.
What, Miss? What?
And you may see me in some places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We will.
I have people contacting me now.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to upgrade my manuscript to get to that place, but
it's all right. On your
it's
way
gonna be
though.
all right.
On your way. That's it.
Yes.
You know, you talking about Tyler Perry. You might have a Sweet Potato might be a Tyler Perry movie one of these days. So
Hello, somebody. You better listen.
That's it. You never
I
know.
just told you I've got to upgrade my manuscript for somebody hollering at me now.
That's it.
But we won't go into all that right now.
Right.
You know.
We'll do it on the next interview. Don't worry. I
Careful
got
what you tell people.
That's it. That's it. But Miss Emma, that's my thing. I love it that you believe in yourself. I believe in your story. I believe I'm thankful for you sharing your story with other people, because I promise you there's some other young ladies out here that have probably experienced something similar to what Sweet Potato experienced. And by you having the courage to tell your story, it will greatly help them to be able to tell their story. And
yes.
That's it. You want to empower them. And that's why I'm so excited. Even as a man, I'm excited to read Sweet Potato, because my grandmother grew up in a similar situation. And, you know, we talked about it, but she never wrote a book. So I didn't just read about her story. I had to hear little stories here and there. So I'm excited. Again, my wife and them have a book club. I'm going to recommend it to them. I'm going to buy a copy. I recommend all listeners go out, buy a copy. Make sure that you purchase the book, first of all. Second of all, once you purchase it, make sure you go onto her website and leave a review, leave 5 stars, talk about it, share it. If you read it and you enjoy it, share it with some other young lady, or even, here's the thing, people, share it with someone who is a little bit older than you as well, because Miss Elmira may have a similar story to your grandmother or your aunt or someone that went through something. And this book may be what they need in order for them to open up and tell you about their life. So Miss Elmira, I'm telling you, you're inspiring people. You don't even know it yet, but you're inspiring others, and what you're doing is God's work, and I'm just proud of you. This is only the beginning.
It is. The fat lady gonna sing.
She gonna sing. She gonna get paid to sing one of these days. She gonna have to sing. Yeah. That's all right. No, I'm excited, Miss Elmira. I'm thankful for you coming on the show. You know, I know we talked about it for a while, and just I can't explain it. Just I enjoy seeing my people I know, do something positive, believe in themselves, and do something that, again, most 90% of people you know will never write a book. They'll never have the courage to write one, or they'll say they're gonna write one, they'll never write it, never finish it, won't put it out there. So we'll promote it. When you have your book signed, let me know. I'll talk about it on the podcast, and I'll promote it as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just excited for you. You know, I like my people.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get. Well, I've already ordered yours. I've already read the introduction, and man, I can't wait. And so we're going to be here to support each other. We're going to be here for each other, because we need each other.
We do.
We need each other, and life is hard enough as it is, and we really need each other. You know. So by the grace of God, I just thank you for allowing me to come on your show today, and I look forward to us working together in the future, and I look forward to promoting you, and I thank you for promoting me. And I just can't thank you enough.
Yeah, yes, man. Well, you know, you're more than welcome. You know, I tell you all the time, anything I can do to help you, let me know, because you've always been willing to help me. And I think that's one of the biggest things in our communities, helping each other. Like, it's enough. I tell people, it's enough people that want to buy books out here for both of us. It's enough people out here in the world that want to listen to podcasts for both of us. It's enough for all of us. And no one gets anywhere without somebody helping them. If I know something you don't know, I'm going to share with you. If you know something I don't know, you're going to share with me. And that's how we get to where we're trying to go. Like, the crabs in the barrel mentality, I just don't get it. And a lot of times in our community, it's really, really rampant in our community, where nobody wants to see anybody do better. A person will go out, Miss Elmira, and spend $20 on a book of somebody they don't even know. Don't know nothing about them. But then you tell them your book is $20 and look upside your head. Why did it cost $20? Like, you know me. You can't buy my book for $20, but you can buy Tom Thumb's book that you don't know anything about. You know, and that's our community. So part of the reason for starting this podcast is to change that. Like I want to be something positive. I want to show we
And
can support each
you
other.
know, a lot of times people think when you write a book, you're writing it for the royalties.
Mm-hmm.
The royalties ain't much of anything.
They're
I wrote
not.
my book like I told my publisher. I wrote my book as a self-help book. I
That's
wanted
it.
to help others. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
This is my story. And I've
Mm-hmm.
already told some people to say, well, why you didn't write it the beginning, the middle, and the ending?
Mm-hmm.
I have a non-chronological book, and it's okay
Mm-hmm.
because I have suspense in my book. I want you to be excited. I had one young lady tell me she couldn't put it down.
That's good.
One of my nieces, matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an easy read. And I want you to be excited. I didn't want it in chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was born uh, wherever, and at 2
Mm-hmm.
years old, she did this, 3 years old, she
Mm-hmm.
did that. I didn't want it like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's in non chronological order, but that's okay. I kind of jump around. I talked about when I first, was born, and then I moved over and I started talking about, we had an outhouse going up, an
Mm-hmm.
outhouse, you know
Okay.
what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
I know
So
what you
it's a
mean.
really
Uh-huh.
good read. And a lot of people, you know, some people, not a lot, have asked me, well, why did you write it that way? Why did you do this? Or why did you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just tell them, that's my story,
That's it.
you know.
Mm-hmm. And
And I've also, like you told me, to ask them, what is in yours? What is in your book?
that's
And
it.
you told me that. So then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so audience, when I tell y'all that it came from a Cedric Nelson.
They can be mad at me. It's fine. I don't mind at all. But it usually shuts
And
them
I thank you
down.
so much, Cedric. You're such a nice and kind person.
Oh, you're welcome, Miss Elmira. Anything I can do to help
And
you again. We like I said, we're gonna
you are a friend indeed. It's
hey,
hard to find good people.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sure it makes me happy to hear that. I'm sure my grandmother smiled out from heaven like she did something right. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely help each other. And then Miss Elmira, I'm tell you that thing about asking them about their book, it shuts it all down. They might be mad at you. They might be mad. They might be mad at you, but they're gonna stop asking all those crazy questions about what you should have done and all that.
Yeah.
So no, so I won't hold you much longer. I usually ask the last question, any websites, books, or anything you want to promote. I know you want to talk about your book some more, so you can definitely talk about that and anything else you want to talk about. It's your time to shine.
Get your copies, Sweet Potato. It's a very good read. It's an easy read. It talks about, the book paints a picture of a little girl, growing up on a plantation where her family was sharecroppers.
Okay.
And talked about how she paved her way, finished high school, and ultimately established a successful career. I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree and got a master's degree, and I'm certified in mental health, as a
Mm-hmm.
lay health advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So my hard work paid off. And my mother taught me strength because my mother dropped out of school in the 6th grade. Now her mother couldn't read. Well, my mother was a domestic worker cleaning in, the white
Mm-hmm.
women homes.
Mm-hmm.
She would get those books. She taught herself to read. She was really smart. I talk about all of that in my book,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, get your copy, support me, please.
Mm-hmm.
And once you finish reading it, you won't regret. And I thank
Amen.
you very much.
Amen to that, Miss Elmira. Miss Elmira, you are the first guest of season 2 of the Life Lessons and Legacy podcast. I can't wait to post this Joker. It's coming up soon. And I will put a link to your book at the bottom of the podcast. So we're gonna promote this Joker like James Brown just came to town. I got you. We're gonna promote it. I got you. We'll put a link to it at the bottom of the podcast. I'm trying to think anything else that we could do. Whenever you do have your book signed, let me know again. I will also put that on the podcast. Let people know to come check out a copy of your book, get it signed. I will be ordering mine today. I'll send you the info when I get and when I get it, I'll bring it by so you can sign it. I definitely want you
Okay.
to sign mine, and I just look forward to it. And I look forward to my wife and my son and my daughter reading it as well. And I just again thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your friendship over all these years. And thank you for putting your book out there. I'm telling you, you're gonna help some people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, again,
Have a good evening.
you too. Have a good one. I won't hold you much longer. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Life, Lessons, and Legacy. I hope you found our discussion thought-provoking and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us to improve and reach more listeners like you. Remember, life is a journey of growth and discovery, and every experience, both the highs and the lows, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. So embrace each moment, cherish the lessons, and live with purpose. You can find more resources, including my book, Life, Lessons, and Legacy, How to Take Life's Lessons and Shape Your Legacy. Available for purchase on my website at www.lifelessonsandlegacy.com. Also available on Amazon.com. On my website, you'll also discover information about my life coaching services and speaking engagements designed to help you unlock your full potential and live a life full of purpose. I'm Cedric D. Nelson. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.